On Halloween, it's not uncommon to see dozens of mini Draculas, Frankensteins, and Wolfmen prowling the streets for candy, but the characters are a rare sight outside of the holiday unless you're in one Duluth man's basement. Jacob Kittilstad has this week's Collecting Northland.
And this is a very, very desirable piece because it's a monster set.
Killing glares coming from all angles, I the creators, Rick Olsen's Monster, a collection started 4 decades ago with one gift.
Came down and Santa had left King's Or for me, and I was just thrilled with it. And that piece has been with me. Not a classic universal monster, but yet a monster as such.
Like a vampire's bite addicting its victim to blood, the Godzilla knockoff haunted Rick's collection dreams. Dreams turn nightmares.
Folks would worry about this. Says, okay, now how is he going to grow up? Is he going to be changed or troubled because of this collection?
Instead, he turned to a life of medicine, a pharmacist with no antidote for his obsession with universal horror characters.
The rest of them followed, but this was the first one because Wolfman was my favorite character. The movement, just the idea of a man changing into a wolf and gaining strength and gaining power, you know, for a little kid, that was very exciting. We have models, we have paint by numbers, we have games, all of these things for play value. Also, you could buy a monster mask for Halloween, or you could run all year round if you wanted to.
Rick's done a great job fulfilling his curse of the collection. He's only dropped the ball on precious few pieces.
I can name one right now. These paint by numbers, there's a Wolfman. And I had the Wolfman when I was young, lost all of it, and I've never been able to replace that. So there are pieces that I don't have yet. They're vacuum form and then they're lithoed on top, so they're fairly hard to get.
Although he boasts this dungeon, quote, drips 60s monster cool, the hoard is really meant to remind Rick of his stories and imagination as a young one.
But I did have a happy childhood, and it's fun to collect things that you had as a child.
With photojournalist Christian Tharaldson, I'm Jacob Kittilstad, KQDS Fox 21.
Go shoo, shoo, shoo. It's got 2 pistons in there.
Attending his vintage showpieces.
I mean, they were driving, that was pre-Model A era.
Ryan Underthun knows his gas pumps from the early 1900s make their pricey, high-octane descendants look like full-service dreams for car drivers.
And you're all beat up and tired because the thing didn't have any suspension, then you got to get out on a hot day and pump your own gas, you know. Pretty spoiled. So you'd pump it one time and pump it back down and then do it again. And
like the automotive industry, he has an addiction to oil and its accessories, even going beyond the rusted exteriors to run a hobby chop shop.
This here is some of my parts inventory for gas pumps. I got that one, and pretty soon I had 2, and pretty soon I had 3, and pretty soon I had 100, and pretty soon I had 200, and pretty soon I had way too many gas pumps.
Most often found in farmers' fields as forgotten homes for birds,
It's a little sticky.
Ryan says his collection isn't necessarily uncommon.
But you don't pull into people's driveways and go knock on their door, hey, you got any gas pumps? You know, they'll think you're nuts. Conservatively, that's a $400 quart. There's a couple of Freedom cans up there.
The owner of Underthun Auto Body calls himself the authority on Freedom Oil Company, later merging with Valvoline.
So they would jar it in glass jars.
He keeps the classic logo alive through family.
If the right piece came out, I'd spend whatever it took, you know, to an extent. You know, I'm not gonna miss house payments because I had to buy a sign, you know. Yep, this is a white crown.
With the King-like acquisitions, he considers the haul his 401k, but still attached, he's nothing but sentimental for these gas pump ornamentals.
It's probably never going to get restored. It's probably just going to stay like that. Just because once you restore them, they can never be original again.
With photojournalist Derek Seashore, I'm Jacob Kittilstad, KQDS Fox 21. Depicted in fur, voodoo dancers prance as gods enter their bodies. Haitian images taken in the 1970s by a former Duluth French professor depict a less romantic act.
Including grab a dove and kill it by biting the neck, tearing the neck, and drinking the blood. So that I didn't like to look at. These are typical Christmas cards of Haiti made with some wood.
Madame Yolande found herself traveling the poor country as French education started crawling away from a European focus. The culture, impossibly different. The artwork, more bold than anything in her Swiss heritage.
The colors are so much stronger, so much more powerful on the paintings I have. The cities and the people, the way they are dressed. Unfortunately now they are in poor shape. I don't know if there are any paintings, if there are many paintings for sale now in Haiti. I have no idea.
Now in ruins, the world struggles to find solutions for the earthquake-ravaged nation. But even 4 decades ago, terrible poverty was forced on most, driving artists from the shadows and into the streets.
For 4 days, every day, he caught me and tried to sell it to me, and I didn't know how to carry it to the United States. I bought most of the artwork without thinking of voodoo, because there were all these there were paintings everywhere in the streets and buildings, lots of artists that were trying to earn a little bit of money.
Her prized possessions, the art of Préfet Dufaux. She secured his early work before his discovery threw him into fame.
They cost like about 50 times more than what I paid just 2 or 3 weeks later, because he became famous.
Now, retired from UMD's French department, Yolande cherishes these flashy canvases, holding her memories from the now crumbling country close to her heart. Well, maybe not all from her voodoo experience.
Towards the end of the ceremony, they were going to kill a goat, so I left after about an hour or an hour and a half. I didn't want to see the killing of the goat.
With photojournalist Derek Seashore, I'm Jacob Kittilstad, KQDS Fox 21.
These are hard to find.
Shuffling through cardboard beer ads where manly men wore multicolored sweaters, Bert Whittington can't tap the origin of his Duluth brewing search.
It's not that I am going back to my youth to collect something that I drank back then, because I probably drank a lot of Pfeiffer's in those days because it was the cheapest beer you could buy.
Now his deeper pockets afford him the best Duluth Suds collectibles, keeping time with Royal 58, decorating with Fickers, and chilling with full bottles of Regal Supreme.
That brewery closed in 1953, and I did that before I bought the saloon, and actually that tray right there was the first thing that I bought for a bar in my basement. And I've got a few of these.
But growing with his antique stock, Whittington upgraded and expanded into the historic Northeastern Bar, where the oldest Minnesota liquor license survives, allowing proper display of delicate barley pop light-ups.
The neon signs are obviously the most fragile because they're all glass. That's a rare sign too. I've got 2 of them. I remember drinking Royal 58, and they used to call it headache beer.
Whittington creates his own headaches now during the long renovation of his Lumberjack Bar's 120-year-old hotel.
Any decent lady would not travel down on the island unless the curtains were drawn on her buggy.
But with his obsession bubbling through him like bottled carbonation, his payoff shows in his high spirits.
I like to drink beer. That's part of collecting beer memorabilia.
With photojournalist Adam Jaganich, I'm Jacob Kittilstad, KQDS Fox 21.